Coach Prato, 3 weeks into fall camp. You obviously you're man in the special teams, but you're also the associate head coach. Tell us from your perspective, how are these Bobcats looking?
We're looking really good, and obviously it's an everyday evaluation, an everyday work in progress. But the one thing I would say is that I think our kids are doing an excellent job right now focusing on what's important, and that's us. Right? It's not that we have no opponent right now other than ourselves. And as you get into the season, it's the same way. You prepare for somebody, but it's really about what we do. And I think our kids have done an excellent job sitting in the seats that you guys are currently sitting in, coming up, showing up every single day, ready to work, putting their head down, and taking the necessary steps. It's a process. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like we're going to show up, practice number one, all of a sudden, hey, we're ready to go. We're not there yet. But I'm very happy with the progress, the attention to detail. And now it's kind of, as you get through a lot of the physical part of it, now it's kind of fine-tuning those minute details, a lot of situational football, and then obviously still constantly evaluating. That evaluation happens throughout the entire season. Somebody might be in a position, a starting role or a backup role, and all of a sudden something happens, another guy gets an opportunity, you take advantage of it. But as a whole, I think we've done a very good job with that.
You know, when we were talking to Coach Kenny just a little bit ago, he was talking about whenever there's certain events, he'll let you take the lead as like kind of like if it's a fundraising event or something like that, you'll take the lead and almost act as a head coach. Do you like having that responsibility? Is that kind of a good relationship between you and GJ, that he trusts you to handle those situations?
Yeah, I think Coach Kenny's incredible. How he shows up every single day to work and prepares. And I'll be honest, one of the major decisions, and this is something I talk about when he has me speak in front of recruits or introduce them. I mean, I think one of the neatest things about Coach Kenny is his path. And his first 5 jobs in coaching, he was hired by people he had played under, right? So every single day they're seeing him, both at a college level and a professional level, and they're seeing him, how he works every single day. Well, as soon as he was available to coach, he had 5 jobs as an assistant, and all 5 of them were massive promotions, and they were all by people he had played under or been around. And that's from the college level to the SEC level to the professional level to coordinating offenses before he got his opportunity in Incarnate Word. And that's something that I really look at every single day and watch him and how he works, and really happy to be a part of that. And as far as him allowing me to do some of those things, I appreciate the opportunity, and I look forward to continuing that as we go forward. But he's incredible to work for. He's incredible to be around. And I know our players feel the same way. And as a coach underneath your boss, right, I show up to work the same way. I see him and how he prepares, and it's encouraging, it's motivating, and it fires me up every single day to be better at what I do, obviously to please your boss and take care of these young men in our program.
Coach, what responsibilities come with being an associate head coach?
Yeah, shoot, I don't know. I'd have to ask Coach Kenny on that one. No, I mean, shoot, he's incredible to be around, right? And if there's certain things, like you said, that he might, hey, will you go handle this or go from there? But as far as something on paper, absolutely nothing. So it's one of those that I try and add as much value as I can to the program. And at the end of the day, if there's something that he would like me to do, I'm there. And my door's always open, and I'm always willing to help. Because at the end of the day, right, we all wear the logo, and we're all going to be looked at and viewed by how we polish that logo every single day in every single thing that we do, whether that's opening the door for somebody at the grocery store, or if you have the logo on, you're representing this great university and obviously this program. And in that aspect, Coach Kenny, right? He is the head football coach. He is directly responsible for this program. So I take a lot of pride in representing this great brand every single day that we're out there moving around.
I look back at your time in South Florida, and your returners did a really good job there. And in terms of who's standing out here during training camp into those roles, a couple of the newcomers that have prior experience, Joey Colbert from Utah Tech, Cole Wilson, of course, coming in from Incarnate Word. He knows Coach Kenny. And a guy that is back from last year, Ashton Hawkins, has also been a returner. So who's kind of standing out, punt, kick, return, and stepping into those roles right now?
Yeah, I think you named them on punt return right there. I mean, you just pointed out all 3 of them. Really good problem to have, right? When you got 3 guys that have played in games, had in-game experience, it's obviously my job and our job to put them in situations to find out who's going to step up. The good problem is that you got multiple guys that have game experience. I think one of the most difficult things for punt returners is that game experience. All three of those guys have had a lot of college reps. All three of them are incredibly explosive, incredibly dynamic players. We're seeing that on offense. We're going to continue to see that on offense as we progress forward. But those three guys have taken a lot of reps at punt return, and however that ends up shaking out, that's a good problem. I believe competition breeds excellence. I think all three of those guys are getting better as we go through fall camp because they stand back there and look at each other like, well, he's really good, and I'm really good. And they kind of look around, and it's like, well, then show up. So good problem to have there on punt return. And then in the kick return game, Cole and Drew Donnelly have both been back there doing an excellent job. Ish has done great. He's an explosive player, and he did well at Houston Christian for them in the return game as well. He's been back there getting some reps. Chris Dawn is a freshman who's explosive, slippery, moves around really well, and then Joey and Ashton have been back there as well. So I think as you talk, to the offensive staff and talk about weapons and players that we have, well, I'm sitting there looking at the same thing. But again, the game experience at punt returner is critical. And that's about just making the right decisions. And we'll continue to put them in those positions to do that. But I think a lot of times on kick return and punt return, it's about the other 10 that are on the field. And that's something that you're constantly working on because some of those returns you've seen in the past, sometimes those guys just run straight down the field. The other 10 do a really good job of making sure that path is clear for them. So obviously I'm working really hard with the 10 to make sure that it's pretty easy on the returner, but obviously you got to have some speed and some athleticism as well.
And you mentioned the other 10. How big of an opportunity is it for guys in those roles to prove themselves on special teams to then get more opportunities on the other side of the ball they play on, offense or defense?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that's critical. Some guys, maybe they're new. We've got a lot of new guys, right? A lot of new guys that we hadn't seen, so we're evaluating them to see what they can do. Well, maybe they're not picking it up quite as fast on offense or defense. A lot of moving parts, new system. And all of a sudden, they're very athletic, and all of a sudden they get a rep, and then they get another rep, and they gain a little confidence, and they're running down on kickoff, or they're making a block on kick return, pump block, whatever it may be. That is a direct correlation. All of a sudden, you start seeing them, and like, man, this guy's playing really well. They gain confidence there, and then they flip right around on either side of the ball, and they start making an impact. And that's kind of the same thing. The flip side of it is that I'm watching the offense and defensive film. Well, that guy's really coming along. Well, let's make sure we get him a rep. And Coach Kenny, hey, that guy's doing good. Let's get him on something. And then you kind of piece it together, and it kind of all takes its course. But it doesn't happen, and that's the hard part, right? You're sitting here. It doesn't happen the first day, sometimes the second day, and it's just that constant working through in that evaluation process. But again, it's that confidence and that's belief. And that's where the return game, you get those guys to believe, right, in the other 10 that are out there, usually good things can happen.
Look at the kicking game. When it comes to punter, you have a known commodity there. Seamus O'Kelly named as a Ray Guy Award watch list punter coming into the year. Place kicker, a little bit different story. The guy that was here a year ago transferred out, so now somebody new's got to step up. Who is stepping up right now? Place kicker and kickoff specialist.
Yeah, so in the kicking game, we've got 3 guys that are out there right now with Mason Shipley, Michael James, and Matt Valesco, who have all done well. They're all battling for it, and that's one of those things that we'll see where it lands. Mason Shipley's the only one that's kicked in a game. The other 2 are younger and have not had an opportunity yet in a game, and that's just part of the process. So we're putting them in a lot of situations. Coach has been great at the end of practice. We've had the whole team crowd around and put them in some stressful situations to see where they can step up and who can rise to the top. But all 3 of those guys have done excellent. It's still a work in progress, and we'll see how that ends up. And then in the punting game, yeah, you're right. Seamus he's punted a lot of balls in games. At the end of the day, before every game, I'm gonna go to him and the long snapper and say, hey man, I wish you the best of luck. I hope you don't play, because the less they play, obviously, the better we're doing in that aspect. But when him and David Nunes has done a great job. He's been performing well. He's a great athlete. But when those guys' opportunity comes, they got to take advantage of it. We got to be able to cover and pin teams down and do a great job. But at the end of the day, we don't want them to play a lot.